We are back for episode 28 of the weekly show on prototype railroads to educate the model railroader on the real railroads and give them ideas. Right now we are going through various railroads talking about their customers, route, history, and motor power. How detailed this is depends on what I can find online, and how accurate depends on what was available at the time of recording. These are often filmed in bulk with 3 to 6 videos filmed in one day. This week the subject is as stated in last week's episode, Genesee, Wyoming's Georgia Southwestern Railroad. This railroad operates 17 miles of track on Alabama and 186 miles in Georgia, totaling 213 miles interchange between Norfolk Southern and Albany, Georgia, reached from Smithville, Georgia via trackage rights over NS, and in Columbus, Georgia. The section from Columbus, Georgia. The section from Columbus is shown on the GWI map as being disconnected from the rest of the GSWR. However, another source shows the NS line between Columbus and Americus being owned by the GSWR, with this section being claimed by another source as abandoned. The GSW also interchanges with G&W's HAL in Arlington, as mentioned in the last episode, and G&W's HOG in Americus. The trackage operated by the HOG was owned by the GSWR until 2000. The history I could find in the Georgia Southwestern is quite complicated, involving several different sections and conflicting information, so I'm not going to try and untangle it. I spent 3 hours with it trying to piece something together and only got a headache. So I'll be doing the usual route description now, going from White Oak, Alabama to Smithville, Georgia, from Columbus to Cassetta, and from Cuthbert to Bainbridge. However, this when at the time I should have changed this script a little because instead of doing that, I went up to Americus, and then I went up the trackage rights to Americus, and then I followed the NS line over to Columbus, and that will sort out some of this confusion here. This railroad hauls 13,000 cars per year, with primary traffic being chemicals, clay, grain, peanuts, plastic, stone, and wood, and has been owned by G&W since December 2008. Starting in White Oak, the tracks are abandoned. I believe from what I could find, this was done around 2007, but I found conflicting dates. This area is an abandoned industry in the middle of nowhere, and then the right-of-way runs east. The tracks are in place but are heavily overgrown to the woods. The active tracks start in Eufaula at Carbo Ceramics, which receives covered hoppers, likely of clay or sand. There is an abandoned industry that looks like it used to use a front-end loader to load open hoppers at one time. The next customer is MC Dixon Lumber, which is a sawmill. The spur across the main from the mill itself is where the lumber sheds are located. Going through Eufaula, the main turns from heading northeast to eastward. Tracks used to run around a I don't know. With a line heading north out of Eufaula. Okay. Tracks used to run around Y. There we go. The main heads south with an industrial lead going straight, while the main turns east again. The railroad can't talk. The industrial branch winds along residential areas, and the first spur is an abandoned one that is along American Building Company. The first customer is Alabama Interforest Corporation. Another abandoned spur goes to a closed warehouse, and the branch swings around a tight curve, turning back north to reach Tessenderlo Kearley, which receives tank cars. This is the end of the branch and has a 3-track yard for sorting cars to be spotted and pulled from the unloading spur. Back to the main, and we head east, crossing the larger part of the Walter F. George Reservoir on a combination deck girder, through truss bridge, and causeway. The middle of the bridge is the Alabama-Georgia state line and passes Georgetown, Alabama, before winding through woods, heading southeast and then east through Morris, and eventually reaching Cuthbert. In Cuthbert, the GSWR has a branch that ran north. This is abandoned, heading north, only used for car storage. A spur to a former customer is also used for car storage, as is 2-yard tracks along the main. Cuthbert is also the site of the Cuthbert Diamond Railroad crossing. This is where the east-west line crosses the north-south line that is out of service beyond the Diamond, heading north. East of Cuthbert is Ampro Products. This receives covered hoppers, and the siding where there is also used for storage of tank cars awaiting their turn to be spotted at American Proteins Incorporated, which has 2 tracks. Heading to Shellman, the GSWR is paralleled by Railroad Street and West Ward Street, and in Shellman there are 2 unused spurs. Hang on. Okay, we're back. Yeah. Heading to Shellman, the GSWR is parallel by Railroad Street and West Ward Street. In Shellman, there are two new spurs. The next town is Dawson. West of here is a 3-track yard used for car storage and Lock Farm Center, which is offline. Next is Golden Peanut, which has 8 tracks for covered hoppers and tank cars. The main then crosses Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Dawson. There was a diamond and another line going north-south. This line is abandoned except for being used for car storage, with the line accessed by connectors going north and south. The diamond was removed, and the track between the connectors has been as well. So, from where the switch would go in the north, down through the diamond, and to the switch that would have been in the south end is all gone. From Dawson, the GSWR passes through mostly fields and heading northeast, where the next community is Brownwood. This has a short siding used for storage as well. Heading into Smithville is another couple industries. Tri-County Ag Services receives covered hoppers on a spur, and McCluskey Mills does the same on another spur. Also, there's a 2-track yard and a spur for transloading covered hoppers with trucks. Less than a mile east, the GSWR splits into a Y where the Norfolk Southern line is. From here, GSWR runs by a track right south to Albany, where they interchange with Norfolk Southern, and north to Americus, where they interchange with Heart of Georgia, which is the HOG. In Albany is a Georgia Pacific Albany corrugated plant, which is probably switched by Norfolk Southern. The same is probably true for the diversified ag services. Trackage rights north past Agrium at US, which is likely served by Norfolk Southern. The NS line goes under the HOG's girder bridge. The connection is near Millard Fuller Boulevard and runs back south, where it joins with the HOG between Southampton Street and Forest Street near the Americus train depot. Interchange would be carried out in the 8-track yard north of West Forsyth Street and north of West Forsyth Street. Nutrient Ag Solutions, which receives covered hoppers in the northeast part of Americus, is likely served by NS as well. Just east of this, the former NS line to Columbus, Georgia, diverges from the active NS route that goes up to Andersonville or Oglethorpe. Andersonville, Oglethorpe, Montezuma, and eventually Macon. This route to Columbus, I did find, was actually acquired by the GSWR but has been abandoned. The tracks are overgrown and not maintained at all. This line passes through the crossroads of La Crosse, village of Ellaville, Buena Vista, through Fort Benning, and on to Columbus. This line is active after Fort Benning. This has 6 tracks for loading and unloading DODX flat cars. There is a 6-track yard for sorting cars, and the main is double track but goes to single track beyond the loading area and then turns to being in rough shape as it enters the woods heading south where we came from. The line to Caseta, which I had found listed as active, is actually very much abandoned. You can barely see where it joins the former NS line that ran between Columbus and Americus. The GSWR serves a factory in Columbus near I-185, a propane dealer at Brennan Road. After this, the road goes back to Norfolk Southern ownership as it crosses Bull Creek. The last industry is served by NS, and there's a small yard at the end of this line where this small section of the GSWR interchanges with Norfolk Southern. Back at Cuthbert, the line heading south goes through the south half of Cuthbert, then into the woods, eventually going under US 27, then paralleling Georgia 216 for quite a while. In Arlington, there is a former customer that closed down. They then cross the HAL to Arlington Diamond, and then the main reaches the Y that is used to interchange the HAL. This is south of Damascus Peanut, which is offline but still in business. There are a couple offline locations in Damascus, which is a ways south of Damascus Peanut. In Damascus, there is a siding used for car storage. In Columbus and Colquitt, a spur goes to crop production services, and 2 spurs serve birdsong peanuts. The next community is El Dorado, which has no industries, though through here the tracks are parallel to US 27 again. Then north of Bainbridge is the Decatur County Industrial Air Park. This has an airport, 2 solar farms, and a couple industries. One is a complex labeled Danimer Scientific and Shaw Industries. This has a siding that goes through a building and 2 spurs that go inside to another building. No cars are outside, so it's hard to tell this is an active customer. The switch is in place, and the track looks like typical industrial trackage. Between this and Rent's Family Farms is 2 tracks that are being built in a vacant lot. The branch then curves around the airport to reach John B. Sanfilippo and Son, which appears offline. South of here, the main line to Bainbridge is used for storage. This is probably why GWI's profile on the GSWR doesn't list the interchange with CSX that is mentioned in the line's history. The GSWR turns into CSX near North Street. Years ago, the GSWR interchanged with CSX here and then had trackage rights to Safford, where they also interchanged with the Chattahoochee Industrial, but no longer. This finishes the line profile of the GSWR. Currently, this railroad has 740 spots available for storage, and that's pretty believable considering the amount of storage I mentioned tracing the lines. This railroad once bore a blue-gray scheme with a black stripe and red accents, along with a large yellow and orange box as a herald. This, of course, has given way to G&W paint, but I cannot find a roster of just active units. Through the years, the GSWR has used the following: GP9's 22... Wait a minute. Yeah. GP9's 22, 702, 1702, and 6541. GP870, SD40-2's 902, 3309, 3311, 4000 to 4003, 6313, and 6346. SW1200 number 1208. GP40's 1339, 1342, 1351, 1352, 4005, and 4026 to 4029. GP10-1, 1703. SD9's 1900 and 1901, B23-7, 2013, GP38-3, 2059, this is probably current, GP7U's 2127, 2160, 2176, 2185, and 2207, GP38's 2880, 3802, 3837, and 3858, GP35M 3801, rebuilt to GP38-3, 2059, GP38-2s 3812 and 3813, Mate 4167, and FP9A 6302 and 6308. Quite a collection of random power and even more random lineage. It is disappointing how little I could collect on this railroad. Hopefully next week's subject, the Chattahoochee Industrial Railroad, will prove more interesting. Unfortunately, this railroad fell victim to, especially with the history, of one person saying one thing, one person saying the other. The Wikipedia page on this, which is sometimes a good resource for looking up railroad history, if there are nothing else available. I look at so many different sites to trying to piece something together of my own, and because multiple people often contribute to this thing, usually it's pretty clear, but this time it seemed to jump around a lot, and it was not well written, and it was just confusing, and I just couldn't piece together a history on it. I have my phone when these episodes are going up, so I'm not exactly sure when this one is going up. I'm pretty sure it should be sometime in April. But that's all I have for this day, and that's the end of that episode. And next week will be the Chattahoochee Industrial Railroad, and after that is so far scheduled to be after that is episode 30 Chattahoochee Bay, episode 31 Alabama and Gulf Coast, and then Meridian and Bigby for the episode 32, Meridian Southern for 33, Mississippi Export for 34, and then we'll be going into New England for episodes 35 and on for a while, at least until episode 44. Episode 45, I have not decided what railroad I'm going to cover on that one, but also sometime in April or May, I am going to do an episode talking about places that you can rail fan around Lancaster and Strasburg for the people who are attending Sparky's meet and greet, so you know where there's railroads that you can go and rail fan. I'm not going to be there. I'm not comfortable being in the vicinity of that many people. I'm not a party person, and it's tough on my anxiety to just going to be meeting Jason and Robert on the 2023 trip. Being around so many people would be it's just too much anxiety for me, and so I'm not going to be there, but I will provide information for those who are going so they know where they can see some real trains other than Strasburg. Bye.